$4 million. That's the number on the wire transfer confirmation, and you're reading it on your phone in the parking lot of a Wendy's at 2 in the afternoon, because that's where you pulled over when the notification came through. The engine is still running. The air conditioning smells like the fryer grease drifting in from the drive-thru. Your hands are not steady. Your grandmother is 3 weeks dead. The estate cleared faster than anyone said it would, and now there's a comma in your checking account that has never been there before. 2 commas, actually, and you are 24 years old, and you make $38,000 a year at a job you were planning to quit anyway. Here's what nobody tells you about receiving $4 million. The number is too big to feel like money. It feels like a typo. It feels like something that will be corrected. So you sit in the Wendy's parking lot and you refresh the app 4 times to make sure the number doesn't disappear. And it doesn't. And somewhere under the euphoria, a small, quiet voice you will not listen to for 6 years asks, "Do you actually know what this is?" You don't. That's the whole story. But you don't know that yet. You call Marcus first. Marcus has been your best friend since the 9th grade, and he answers on the second ring because Marcus always answers. And you tell him, and he screams, and you scream, and for 11 minutes the two of you are just 2 kids screaming into phones. Marcus is a diesel mechanic. He makes $52,000 a year, and he is, at this exact moment, on his back under a freightliner with grease to his elbows, and he tells you to come by after work, and you will figure out what a person does with $4 million. You never figure it out. That's the part you'll think about later. Your grandmother left you the money in cash. Liquidated, simple, no trust, no strings, no advisor attached. She was a school teacher who saved for 50 years and never spent a dollar she didn't have to. The irony is that she was the most financially disciplined person you have ever known, and she handed her life's discipline to the least prepared person she could have chosen, because she loved you, and love is not the same thing as preparation. There's a detail you and Marcus never discuss. When you were 19, he covered your rent for 2 months when you got laid off. He never asked for it back. You never brought it up. It just sits between you, a debt that was never a debt, and both of you have agreed without agreeing that it doesn't exist. Remember that. It matters later. The first thing you buy is a car, not a crazy car, that's what you tell yourself. A 3-year-old BMW M4, certified pre-owned, $61,000, and you pay cash, and the salesman shakes your hand like you're the same species now. You drive it off the lot and the leather smells like a decision. And here's the first thing the money teaches you, though you don't recognize it as a lesson. Spending large amounts of money produces a physical high. A real one. Dopamine, measurable, the same circuitry that lights up for a slot machine. The problem isn't that it feels good. The problem is that it needs to feel good again. By month 4, you've moved into a 2-bedroom apartment downtown, $3,200 a month, floor-to-ceiling windows, a building with a doorman named Reyes who learns your name. You furnish it in a single weekend. You start picking up dinner checks. For Marcus, for people who are becoming friends because you pick up dinner checks. The money going out doesn't register, because when you have $4 million, a $340 dinner is a rounding error. That's the trap, and it's mathematical, and it's this. Your brain calibrates spending against your balance, not against your income. And your balance is enormous. So every purchase feels free. It isn't free. Nothing is free. But you won't run the numbers, because running the numbers would end the feeling, and the feeling is the only thing you've ever had that felt like safety. Let's talk about what you actually have, because you never do. $4 million, if you never earned another cent and never invested a dollar of it, spent at $200,000 a year, lasts 20 years. That sounds like forever when you're 24. It is not forever. It is until you're 44, with nothing, no career, no compounding, no skills you didn't have before. And that's the good scenario, the disciplined scenario, the one where you spend $200,000 a year, which you are already by month 6 exceeding. There's a concept your grandmother understood in her bones and you have never heard named. The difference between income and wealth. Income is a river. It flows, it replenishes. You can drink from it every day and it's still there tomorrow. Wealth is a lake, a finite body of water, and you are standing at the edge of a lake the size of which you have never seen, drinking like it's a river, and no one has told you that lakes do not refill. Marcus asks you, one night on your new balcony, what you're doing with it, to make it grow, and you say you're looking into some things. You are not looking into some things. You say it the way you say most things now, as a placeholder for a plan you assume will arrive on its own. Then Devin arrives. Devin is a friend of a friend, 29, always in a quarter zip, and he talks about money the way pastors talk about God. He has an opportunity, a real estate development play, ground floor, a strip of pre-construction condos 2 states away, and the returns he's quoting are 30%. And he says it fast and warm, and he says the word conservative a lot. And you have $4 million and no idea what a normal return even looks like. So 30% doesn't sound insane to you. It sounds like winning. You put in $600,000. You don't get an attorney. You don't get the projections independently reviewed. You don't ask the one question that would have saved you, which is, if this is so good, why do you need my money? You sign because signing feels like being the kind of man who signs. And the money leaves your account in a single wire. And for about a week, you feel like an investor, like a serious person, like your grandmother's money is finally doing something worthy of her. Here is what a diversified, boring, index-based portfolio returns on average. Around 10% a year before inflation, historically, tracking the S&P 500, not 30, 10. And the people who quote you 30 are not offering you a better version of the same thing. They are offering you a different thing entirely, a thing whose real name is risk. And the first rule of risk that nobody taught you is that the size of the promised return is a direct measure of the odds you lose everything. You will learn this rule. You will just learn it in the most expensive possible way. The car is now a Porsche. You sold the BMW at a loss. Cars are not investments. They are a subscription you pay all at once. They lose 20% the moment you drive them off the lot, and you ate that twice now. And the Porsche is $114,000. And the payment for it comes, this time, from a balance you have stopped looking at. This is the part that's hard to explain to anyone who hasn't lived it. You stop checking, not because you're reckless, because checking has started to feel bad, and you have organized your entire life without deciding to, around not feeling bad. Ray as the doorman gets a $500 tip at Christmas. His face when you hand it to him, you'll remember that longer than the Porsche. He has a daughter. He mentions her braces. You almost offer to pay for them and then you don't. And you don't know why you don't, except that some animal part of you has started, quietly, to keep score of the outflow, even as the conscious part refuses to look. By the second year you've spent, all in, car, apartment, the Devin investment, the dinners, a trip to Portugal with 8 people you paid for, the watch, the second watch, you've spent $1.4 million. You have $2.6 million left, and you feel poorer than when you started, and you cannot understand why, and the not understanding is the most frightening thing that has ever happened to you. So you do the thing you always do. You spend, to make the fear quiet. And it works. It always works. It works right up until it doesn't. Devin stops answering by month 18. The condo development is delayed, then re-permitted. Then there's a lawsuit you're mentioned in but not really part of, and a settlement that returns you $71,000 of your $600,000 nearly 3 years later. And Devin has a new quarter zip and a new opportunity for other people by then. You never see him again after the closing dinner. That's the last time the man appears in your life, grinning, lifting a glass, calling you brother. You don't tell Marcus. That's the first thing you actively hide from him. And hiding it is the moment something between you changes. Because the whole architecture of your friendship was that there was nothing to hide. Here's the reframe, and it's the one that keeps you up at night once you finally understand it. If you had taken the whole $4 million and done nothing at all, no genius, no effort, just put it in a broad index fund and forgotten the password, at a historical average, it would have grown to roughly $6.4 million in 6 years. You didn't just spend your inheritance, you spent the inheritance it would have become. The number your grandmother handed you was never $4 million. It was every future version of that $4 million, all the way down, and you were the only person alive who could see all of them, and you looked away. There's a rule, in the world you were never taught to live in, called the 4% rule. It says that if you never want to run out of money, you can withdraw about 4% of your invested wealth each year and let the rest keep compounding, and it should last indefinitely. 4% of $4 million is $160,000 a year, every year, forever, without ever touching the $4 million itself. You could have had $160,000 a year for the rest of your life and never worked another day, and instead you bought 2 watches and a man named Devin's second quarter zip. There's no clever sentence for this part. This part just hurts. Year 4. Your mother needs help. Her transmission is gone, $4,000, and she calls you embarrassed and apologetic, and you say of course, and you send it, and here is the thing that folds time in half. $4,000 used to be a catastrophe for you. $4,000 used to be a number you'd have felt in your chest for a month, and you send it in 12 seconds and feel nothing, and the nothing scares you more than the fear ever did, because you can feel how far you've drifted from the person who understood what $4,000 was. That person knew the value of money, This person only knows the price of things. They are not the same knowledge, and you traded one for the other, and no one told you it was a trade. By year 5, you're down to $900,000, and you finally sit down and look. You do it on the floor, the nicest apartment you've ever rented, and you're on the hardwood with your back against the kitchen island, laptop open, and you build the spreadsheet you should have built in the Wendy's parking lot 6 years ago. Income, 0. You haven't worked in 5 years. Skills, none acquired. Investments, 1, incinerated. Monthly burn, $19,000. You do the division. At this rate, you have about 47 months before the account reaches 0. 47 months. Not a lifetime, not 20 years, not the forever you assumed at 24. Less than 4 years, and then the person you'll be at the bottom of this will have no money, no career, no compounding, and 6 years of gap where a life was supposed to go. You don't cry. You expected to cry. Instead, there's a cold clarity, the first genuinely sober thought you've had since the wire cleared, and it is this. The money was never the gift. The money was a test of something you didn't have, and you're failing it in real time, and the only thing that could have saved you was a thing that costs almost nothing, and that your grandmother assumed you'd pick up on your own. Knowing what money is, that was the inheritance. The $4 million was just the interest on an education you never got. You call Marcus. You tell him all of it. The Devin money, the Porsche you already sold, the 47 months, and there's a silence on the line, and then Marcus, diesel mechanic, $52,000 a year, the same job the whole time, says something that reorganizes your understanding of the last 6 years. He's been maxing his 401k the whole time, 6% matched since he was 22, plus a Roth IRA he funds every January with his tax refund. He shows you the number the next weekend, on your floor, on his cracked phone. $71,000, invested, growing, his. Almost nothing compared to what you had, but every dollar of it is dollars he protected, dollars set to compound for another 40 years, dollars that will be worth, by the time he's your grandmother's age, more than the $4 million you started with. Marcus, who never had a lake, dug a well, and the well will outlast every ocean you drank. That's the isolation of it. For 6 years you thought the money made you the one who'd made it, and Marcus the one still working, and you never once saw that he was the wealthy one, and you were the one going broke in slow motion. The knowledge you're finally acquiring, it doesn't just cost money to learn late. It shows you, in one merciless frame, everyone you look down on from inside a life you were setting on fire. You rebuild, differently. There's no other choice. You take the $900,000 and you do the thing you should have done at 24. Most of it, $700,000, goes into 3 low-cost index funds, and you do not touch it. And at a 4% withdrawal, that's $28,000 a year of income that will never end as long as you leave the principal alone. Not the life you had, a floor under the life you'll build. You keep $50,000 as an emergency fund, real cash, boring cash, the kind of cash your grandmother kept, and the rest you use to go back to school for the trade you should have had a career in already. You get a job, an actual job, $54,000 a year, and the first paycheck hits your account. Direct deposit, $1,730 after taxes, and you stare at it on your phone the way you once stared at the $4 million, and this number, this tiny number, means something the big one never did. You earned it. It's a river, not a lake. It comes back next week, and you understand finally what your grandmother knew. A small river that never stops beats a great lake you drain in the dark. You pay Reyes's daughter's braces, anonymously. It's the last discretionary thing you do with the old money, $6,000, and you route it through the orthodontist's office so it can't be traced to you, and Reyes never knows, and that's the point. A silent gift for a silent debt you never named to yourself, the tip you gave him for a name he learned, back when you were pretending money made you kind. You screenshot your account one night in December, not the $4 million. There's $748,000 now, and it's growing slowly, honestly, for the first time. You send the screenshot to nobody. You just needed to know you could look at a number again without needing it to make you feel something. You can. That took 6 years and $3.9 million to learn. Marcus makes you dinner in his kitchen, the two of you, and neither of you mentions the 2 months of rent from when you were 19, and neither of you mentions the 47 months, and the not mentioning is the whole friendship, still there, the one thing you didn't burn. You never do get the $4 million back. That's not the kind of story this is. You're in a car in a parking lot again, not the Wendy's, a different lot, a different car, a used Honda you paid for over 3 years because you wanted, this time, to feel every dollar of it. Same phone, same trembling almost, except it isn't fear now, it's something quieter. You're looking at the account, and the voice from the Wendy's parking lot, the small one you refused to hear at 24, it asks the same question it asked then. Do you actually know what this is? And for the first time, you do. Your grandmother saved for 50 years and handed you a lake, and you handed the next version of yourself a well, and the only thing you can't calculate, the only number that won't resolve no matter how many times you refresh the app, is what she'd have said if she'd known the most expensive thing she ever gave you was the one lesson she forgot to teach. You put the phone down, you go inside, the engine is still running.